Well, like it or not, they are coming. They're coming right here to U.S. soil. The White House announcing today that a prison in Thomson, Illinois will soon be home to some detainees who are currently being held at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. And not everyone is happy about this. The detainees will be held at Thomson Correctional Center in Republican Congressman Don Manzullo's district. He joins us. Hello, Congressman. And
hi, Greta. How are you today?
I'm very well. Why don't you like this? Because a lot of people in your state do like this.
Well, it depends upon people to whom you talk. Our biggest concern, Greta, has always been the same concern that I share with Senator Jim Webb, Senator Joe Lieberman, and former Governor Sebelius of Kansas, who successfully fought the Obama administration on removing Gitmo to Leavenworth, is the fact that even though the prisoners have no opportunity to break out of prison, it would nonetheless serve as a magnet for terrorists and terrorism activities. The Department of Defense says, and the White House agrees, that the reason Gitmo is being closed is the fact that it's hated so much by terrorists that as a national security issue, they believe it's used as a tool for recruiting Al-Qaeda young men to get into their ranks. And our concern is that threat, the hatred towards Gitmo, transferring to Thomson, Illinois, because the operations and the personnel are going there.
Yeah, I've been doing a little work on it, and what a number of Thomson, Illinois residents say, and and they're the ones that are going to have these people living in their neighborhood, so to speak, is that they're lobbying for it a number, because they say there'll be 2,000 to 3,000 new jobs if that prison becomes fully operational, and it hasn't been for 8 years since it's been built. You've got a state representative who says if we pass up this opportunity, I think we are buffoons. It's been sitting vacant for 8 years, and then you have 5 members of the president's cabinet, including the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense, saying that that they think this is a good idea. So I don't know. You may be one of the handful of people who don't like this.
Well, Greta, first of all, my obligation as a member of Congress is to make sure that the people that I represent are safe and secure. I've always been in favor of opening up that prison, either as a state facility for which it was originally designed or as a federal prison. In fact, the governor of the state has given early release to 1,850 felons, saying there's not enough room in Illinois to house the criminals. And so now we have this facility which should be used for Illinois criminals being sold at a bargain price to the federal government. So I'm in favor of opening the prison. The biggest issue that I have is the fact that there isn't anybody in the federal government, let alone one person by the name of Phil Carter, who used to be in charge of detainees at the Department of Defense. And when I asked him questions about who was being transferred there, he said, number one, this would be the largest concentration of incarcerated international terrorists in the United States. And number two, I said, what about the threat transferring from Gitmo to Thomson, Illinois? He said, well, undoubtedly there would be an increased threat. He said, I have no way of measuring that threat. The extent of it, he said, but I'm sure DOD could take care of it. So if you have a threat that's being increased and no way of measuring that threat, that's very serious.
Well, Congressman, what do you propose? What would you like to see done?
Well, first of all, what we ought to do is open that prison in Thomson, Illinois. If even half of the federal government's estimate as to the job creation is correct, there will be enough revenues in there for the state of Illinois through sales tax and through state income tax in order to operate that prison. Second of all, if you're going to take these terrorists from Gitmo Bay and move them to the United States, spread them out in 20 different prisons. Make it so that there isn't one area in the country that becomes a magnet for that.
So you'd like to see everyone spread out, like put some in Colorado at the Supermax, and you think it's a better idea to sort of divvy them up around the country?
It's a better idea because there is a very real threat, and this is what Governor Sebelius said.
Let me just say that is traditionally how, by the way, the Department of Justice, at least when I used to practice criminal defense work, would take gangs, that they'd move them to different facilities so that they couldn't operate a network. I mean, I mean, that's not such an unusual to separate them. To separate at least people in a criminal enterprise. So maybe that's worth looking at.
Well, if we're done that way, that would work. But Greta, what bothers me, a few minutes ago, we just voted honoring American jazz. Last night, we had a vote on honoring some some football team or some soccer team. And the issue of moving Gitmo to the United States should be debated in the halls of Congress. It's not. In fact, what happened was buried deep within a 1,300-page omnibus appropriations bill were 6 pages of material added in. None of us knew it was in there. That gives the president the authority to move it, but it says that he has to come up with specific findings as to why Gitmo is being closed, the cost of transferring Gitmo, security threats, etc. But all that information is classified. The people I represent will never know the extent of the threat to which they're being exposed. They should have that information.
Well, maybe that would also be, we maybe can figure out if it really needs to be all classified. Congressman, we got to go. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you.
Up next, a secret memo.